Loss is not symbolic. Loss is physical. You will feel it. When you cut away a habit that comforts you, you bleed. When you confront a truth you denied for years, you bleed. When you silence the voice that makes excuses, you bleed. And you mistake that bleeding for a sign that something's wrong. No. Bleeding is the confirmation that the operation has begun. You've lived your life hoarding the unnecessary. You call it who I am, but it's only who you settled into when resistance became exhausting and comfort became easier to worship than purpose. Let me remove the softness from the truth. You don't lose your old identity by outgrowing it. You lose it by destroying it, deliberately. People who speak of transformation with warmth have never truly transformed. There's nothing warm about killing a version of yourself you once depended on. There's nothing poetic about surrendering pleasures that numb the pain of unmet potential. There's nothing soft about choosing hunger over the convenience of being fed. This process is not spiritual, it's surgical, and you are the knife. You believe you can change everything around you while remaining the same inside, but the world is not fooled. You cannot build strength on the foundation of the same weakness. If you want a new result, you must become unrecognizable to your former self. You will lose parts of your personality that were crafted to avoid accountability. You will lose relationships that benefit from your stagnation. You will lose routines that exist only to quiet your guilt. You will lose identities built on shallow accomplishments and fragile pride. These losses are not punishments, they're currency. This is the toll you must pay to cross the first gate. Loss reveals what you truly worship. When you fail to sacrifice, you expose your loyalty to the very chains you claim to hate. Your excuses are idols. You pray to them every time you say, I can't, not yet, I'm trying. You're not trying. Trying is a convenient lie you tell yourself to avoid the disgust of inaction. You must stop trying. You must start cutting, because everything you refuse to kill becomes the reason you never evolve. Do not look for comfort here. Comfort is the enemy. Comfort negotiates. Comfort delays. Comfort sedates. Comfort keeps you loyal to the worst version of yourself. The old self will beg to survive. It will whisper, it's not so bad here. It will promise peace and call sacrifice insanity. But peace is premature when the war has not yet been won. You must ignore the begging. You must ignore the trembling. You must ignore the fear. Transformation begins the moment you choose loss without justification. You will grieve for who you were, but grief is a small price for access to who you could be. The first gate is open, but you don't walk through it. You leave a version of yourself behind and step forward alone. There's no going back, not if you truly intend to rise. You think the battle begins when you take action. You're wrong. The battle begins the moment you take something away. The old self does not go quietly. It doesn't surrender because you made a decision. It resists. It claws. It fights with desperation. You're not only changing habits, you're threatening a creature that has lived inside you for years. And creatures fight hardest when they're cornered. The war is not external. There's no enemy out there, no rival, no obstacle, no cruel world preventing your rise. The enemy is the voice you trust most. The enemy is the mind that claims to protect you. The enemy is the self that has mastered the science of your own destruction. You think sabotage comes from weakness. It doesn't. It comes from intelligence. Your old self knows exactly what you fear, exactly what you crave, exactly how to make you hesitate just long enough to step back into the familiar. It doesn't need force. It only needs influence. At first, the resistance feels emotional. I don't feel like it today. I'm too drained. I'll make up for it tomorrow. You call it burnout. You call it stress. But what you're feeling is the recoil of your own evolution. Your biology is loyal to who you were. It knows that change threatens its routine. It senses danger, not in the future you want, but in the unfamiliarity required to reach it. So it floods you with excuses, disguised as survival instincts. You think you're protecting yourself. You're only protecting your comfort. Soon, resistance becomes psychological. You question your plan. You question your ability. You question whether it even matters. Doubt becomes a strategist. It attacks you where your certainty is weakest. Not with screams, but with careful whispers. It won't work. You've failed before. No one expects you to endure this. Every thought is crafted to make retreat feel rational. The old self is persuasive. It knows your language too well. Then comes the physical war. Fatigue, restlessness, urgent cravings for the very behaviors you swore to abandon. Your body demands surrender. It locks your energy behind a wall of resistance. It weaponizes discomfort to force you back into obedience. That understand this clearly. You're not tired. You're addicted. Addicted to ease. Addicted to escape. Addicted to the rituals that make you weaker, but quieter. Breaking those addictions feels like dying, because a part of you is. This war is not fair. You're fighting an enemy that has access to every memory, every insecurity, every wound you never healed. It knows exactly where to strike. And there's only one way to win. You must refuse to negotiate. Discipline is not a conversation. Discipline is a verdict. And the verdict must be delivered, even when the defendant is screaming. Especially then. You want someone to understand you. Someone to tell you this is difficult. Someone to applaud you simply for trying. There will be no applause. There will be no sympathy. You don't get rewards for battles still in progress. You will earn nothing until the old self is dead. Only then can the new identity claim the throne. This is a dictatorship. You are both the ruler and the rebel that must be executed. One of you will survive. One of you will be buried. Which one? Decided in these quiet, private wars, where no one is watching, and no one will save you. You think you're losing because the battle hurts. Pain is not defeat. Pain is the sound of the old self breaking its grip around your throat. Every time you choose action over impulse, you kill a weakness. Every time you refuse the comfort that once owned you, you commit a quiet act of violence against who you were. This is war, not a metaphor, not a speech. War. And the only acceptable outcome is that one version of you never rises again. That's the cost. That's the necessity. That's the inevitable truth you tried to avoid for so long. You are both soldier and battlefield. You must be willing to destroy the home you've lived in, to build the one you need. Do not look for peace here. Peace is a privilege for those who have conquered themselves. You haven't earned that yet. For now, you fight. For now, you bleed. For now, you destroy. And one day, if you don't surrender, you will rise. Not because you found a new self, but because you killed the old one. Nothing you want is free. Not success, not discipline, not identity. Everything has a price. Most people dream of transformation as if it were a gift waiting to be opened. But transformation is a transaction. You must pay. And the universe only accepts 3 currencies: time, energy, identity. If you're not paying with all 3, you're not transforming. You're pretending. Not leftover time, not convenient time, not the minutes that remain after you've satisfied every comfort. Transformation demands the prime hours of your day, the hours you currently give to distractions that rot your potential, the hours you waste on impulses that leave no mark on your future, the hours you trade for nothing but temporary relief. People like you love saying, "I don't have time." That's a lie you built to avoid accountability. You have time. You just spend it on survival instead of ascension. Time is not measured by hours. Time is measured by priority, and your priorities expose you. Not emotional excitement, not motivational spikes, not the sudden rush that comes when change feels romantic. Energy means pushing when you're empty, focusing when you're overwhelmed, executing when you're exhausted. Most people act only when they feel right. Those people never change. The body resists transformation because transformation is unfamiliar. Your energy will rebel before it adapts. Excellence requires force against internal gravity. If you move only when it's easy, you're not evolving, you're indulging. The price of growth is the energy you don't want to give. This is the most expensive currency because it requires the complete extinction of who you currently believe yourself to be. Every belief that served your comfort must be dismantled. Every story you tell yourself must be interrogated. Every justification you rely on must be torn apart. Identity is a system of permissions. You've granted yourself too much permission to remain weak, to become someone else. The version of you that authored those permissions must be erased. Identity death is the highest cost because it forces you into the unknown. The question is not, what do you want to become? The question is, what are you willing to stop being? People claim they're paying the price because they make small sacrifices. They quit a habit for a week. They wake up early for 3 days. They do a little more than the bare minimum and call it commitment. That's not payment. That's performance. There's nothing impressive about temporary discomfort. Transformation demands permanent withdrawal from the life you swore you hated, but continued to repeat. Every day, you're either investing in your future or financing your stagnation. Be honest. Which one have you been paying into? You want a new life while paying the old price. You want freedom while defending your captivity. You want identity without sacrificing the mask. You want to claim the rewards while refusing the discipline that makes those rewards inevitable. Understand this: the universe is not fooled by declarations. It's moved by receipts, and you haven't paid enough. Eventually, the world will examine your life and deliver a verdict. You will receive exactly what you've earned, nothing more, nothing less. So look at your results. They're the cost you were willing to pay. They're the proof of how little you've sacrificed. There's no mystery here, no hidden secret. Your life is the arithmetic of your effort. If you want a different total, change what you're spending. Loss opens the gate. War decides if you continue, but payment is what pushes you through to the other side. Every day costs something. You either pay with progress or you pay with regret. And regret is the most expensive currency of all, because it buys you nothing. 3 deaths are required: the death of comfort, the death of the old self, the death of the identity built on weakness. You cannot negotiate, you cannot bargain, you cannot delay. The price is fixed, and it must be paid in full, by order of the Peaky Blinders.